The ceiling lamps hummed gently in the staff lounge of Bennett's grocery store as 23-year-old Ava Thompson sat alone on a worn bench, her presence quiet and unassuming. Her blonde hair, tied loosely in a casual ponytail, framed her face as she ate a simple meal from a modest container. Dressed in the standard cashier uniform, a white blouse paired with a navy skirt, her slumped posture betrayed a bone-deep exhaustion that surpassed the demands of a busy morning shift. Ava had been employed at the store for merely 2 weeks, yet each day unfolded as an unrelenting series of unforeseen challenges. The minimum wage job, coupled with erratic hours and the city's steep living costs, drained nearly every penny she earned. Having relocated from a small rural town with aspirations of pursuing higher education, Ava found those dreams slipping further away as harsh realities took hold. Unbeknownst to her, 36-year-old Lucas Bennett, the CEO and third-generation owner of Bennett's Grocery, a regional chain of 15 stores, stood observing from the lounge's doorway. Clad in a sharply tailored navy suit, Lucas was conducting one of his quarterly covert visits, evaluating operations and employee experiences without revealing his true identity. While navigating the store's aisles, he caught the faint sound of stifled weeping emanating from the lounge. His initial impulse was to continue, leaving personal matters to store managers, but the raw, heartfelt sorrow in those muffled sobs compelled him to pause. Watching Ava, Lucas discerned not merely a fleeting moment of distress, but a profound, underlying struggle. Her shoulders quivered with silent tears as she stared at the sparse contents of her lunch container, occasionally glancing at her phone with visible anxiety, her expression heavy with worry. Summoning his courage, Lucas tapped softly on the doorframe. "Excuse me, are you all right?" "What?" he asked gently. Startled, Ava looked up, her face flushed with embarrassment as she hastily wiped her eyes, striving to regain composure. "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't realize anyone was here. I'll return to my station immediately," she stammered. "Please, no need to apologize," Lucas replied with warmth, stepping into the room. "I'm Lucas from the corporate office, visiting today. You seem deeply upset, and I wanted to ensure you're okay." Ava studied his kind demeanor and polished appearance, hesitant yet disarmed by his sincerity. "I'm Ava. I've only been working here for a couple of weeks. I'm not usually this emotional at work. Today's just been exceptionally hard," she admitted. Lucas took a seat across from her, maintaining a respectful distance. "Would you care to share what's troubling you? Sometimes talking can lighten the load," he offered. For a moment, Ava wavered, grappling with the decision to confide in this stranger, yet the weight of her struggles soon overcame her caution. "I moved here from a small town to attend college," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, trembling with vulnerability. "I thought I could work part-time and save for tuition, but the cost of everything here is so much higher than I anticipated. My rent consumes most of my paycheck, and after buying food and paying for transportation, I'm left with almost nothing." She paused, her gaze fixed on her modest lunch, a single peanut butter sandwich. "I've been eating the same sandwich every day because it's all I can afford. Today I realize that even if I work every available hour, I'll never save enough for college. My dreams feel utterly unattainable now," she added, her voice cracking with despair. Lucas felt a pang in his chest as he absorbed her story, struck by the courage of a young woman who had left everything familiar to chase education and self-better, meant only to find her ambitions thwarted by the harsh economics of low-wage work. "How many hours are you working here?" he asked softly, his tone filled with concern. About 25 hours a week," Ava replied, her voice tinged with resignation. "I requested more, but they said that's all they can offer part-time staff. I've been searching for a second job, but most employers want full-time availability, and the schedules conflict." Lucas felt a surge of frustration, not directed at Ava, but at a system that ensnared someone so diligent and determined in a cycle of mere survival rather than opportunity. "What were you hoping to study?" he inquired, genuinely curious. For the first time, Ava's expression softened, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "Business administration, with a focus on social work. I want to assist families struggling financially, perhaps at a non-profit or community organization. I know firsthand what it's like to worry about money, and I want to help others find solutions," she said, her voice warming with passion. Lucas couldn't miss the poignant irony. This young woman, employed by his company and barely scraping by, aspired to dedicate her career to supporting others in her exact predicament. "Ava, may I ask you something?" Lucas said, his mind racing with possibilities. "If you could change one thing about working here, what would it be?" Ava considered the question thoughtfully, her brow furrowing. "I'd want employees to have access to more hours if they need them, and perhaps some form of educational assistance. I know others here are just as stuck as I am, working tirelessly, but never progressing," she replied, her words selfless, despite her own hardship. Lucas was deeply moved that, even in her distress, Ava's suggestions aimed to benefit all employees, not just herself. "Those are remarkable ideas," he said earnestly, his voice steady with conviction. "What if I told you changes like that might be feasible?" Ava looked puzzled, her eyes narrowing slightly. "What do you mean? Are you with human resource or something?" Lucas took a deep breath, aware that his next revelation would shift the dynamic of their conversation. "Ava, I need to be upfront. I'm not just from the corporate office. I'm Lucas Bennett, the owner of this company." Ava's eyes widened in shock, her face flushing with immediate embarrassment. "You're the owner? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have complained about company policies to you. Please don't fire me. I desperately need this job, even if it's not enough," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "Ava, please," Lucas said firmly yet kindly, his tone reassuring. "You're not in trouble. In fact, you've helped me recognize critical flaws in how we support our employees. Flaws I'm determined to rectify." Over the next hour, Lucas listened intently as Ava shared more about the challenges faced by entry-level workers. She spoke of colleagues juggling multiple jobs to afford rent, parents unable to cover childcare costs, and young people abandoning educational dreams because they couldn't afford to work fewer hours. "What you've described is unacceptable," Lucas declared at last, his voice heavy with resolve. "No one working full-time for my company should struggle to afford basic necessities, and no one with educational aspirations should feel trapped by their job." 2 weeks later, Lucas announced transformative changes to Bennett's grocery policies. The company now guaranteed minimum hours for employees who requested them, introduced comprehensive educational support, including tuition reimbursement, and significantly raised starting wages across all positions. Ava was offered the newly created role of employee advocate, tasked with identifying and addressing workplace challenges while pursuing her college degree with full company support. "Why are you doing all this?" Ava asked, her voice filled with wonder when Lucas offered her the position. "You could have simply ignored what I said." Lucas smiled, reflecting on how that moment in the lounge had reshaped his perspective. "And because you reminded me that behind every employee badge and uniform is a real person with dreams, struggles, and untapped potential. You showed me that true business success isn't solely about profit margins, it's about creating opportunities for people to build brighter futures." 6 months later, as Lucas reviewed employee satisfaction surveys revealing remarkable improvements across all locations, he often reflected on that morning when a young woman's tears unveiled realities he had never considered. Ava hadn't merely shared her personal struggles. She had challenged him to become a leader who understood that a company's greatest asset wasn't its inventory or equipment, but the people who showed up every day, carrying hopes for a better tomorrow. And Lucas had learned that the most profound business insights often come not from boardroom strategies or consultant reports, but from listening with an open heart to the authentic experiences of those who make success possible.